This is Furia from Olivella Modular. It's a 4-pole transistor ladder filter based on the E-mu Modular 2100 LPF that was originally designed by Dave Rossum in the 1970s. It pairs that with a discrete transistor VCA with tons of gain. There are no ICs anywhere in the audio path, so it has an authentically vintage sound and it distorts in a really musical way. It's great for rich acid bass lines. It can do classic plucky low-pass gate effects. It pings nicely with triggers at the input. You can use it as a characterful preamp and filter for external sources. And the filter can get gloriously croaky and formanty under extreme modulation. Kevin at Olivella sent over Furia for me to check out, along with his Gravidad oscillator, and I have to say I was genuinely blown away by how great they sound. So in this video, I'll give you a quick overview of Furia's signal path and controls before I build a few patches. Okay, so I'll start with a quick overview of Furia's front panel and controls, and then I'll put a saw wave through it and do a few sweeps so you can get a little flavour for how it sounds. As always, if you'd rather just hear it in context and some patches, then you can use the chapters to skip ahead. There are basically two sections to Furia, a filter and a VCA, and all the inputs and outputs are at the bottom. The input to the filter is here, runs through an input gain section, and then you've got your classic cutoff frequency and resonance, along with an attenuverter for the cutoff frequency CV. The VCA section has a large manual gain setting, or kind of offset setting for the gain. There's a little switch next to it, which when you push it down, increases the gain by 10 times, which really overloads and distorts it in a nice way, as you'll hear later. There's an attenuverter for the VCA CV, and there's a little trimmer here to adjust the response of the VCA CV from linear to exponential. You'll see this little arrow, the amplitude CV is normal to the frequency CV, so you can use a single envelope to modulate both of them. The filter output is available individually here, but it's also normal to the VCA input here, the amp in, and then the VCA outputs at the bottom right. So you can use it as a completely independent filter and VCA, or you can run them in series, or you can patch it so it goes into the VCA first, then the filter if you like. There are dip switches on the back that change the nature of that VCF to VCA normaling from half normal to full, and there are also dip switches to control whether each input stage is DC coupled or not. The DC coupling can potentially introduce some clicks with internal offset, so you might want to disable that if you're just going to be using it with audio. Let's get started with a saw wave through it, then we'll have a little listen. I'm going to patch a saw out of Gravidad. Just going to put it through data so you can see what we're looking at. That's going to be the green trace there. And then I'm going to take that into the filter input, and then we'll just listen to the filter output, which is going to come through the blue trace. I'm just attenuating it very slightly on the way into data because the signals out of Furia get very hot and data has a habit of distorting as it gets near the rails. We don't want that digital clipping to colour what we're hearing. So with the input gain right down, we're not hearing anything. If I bring the input gain up, you can see we're already at 9 o'clock, slightly distorted. In fact, if I just nudge the resonance up a fraction, that kind of straightens things back out again, brings a bit of that high end back. So the gain and the resonance really do interact in some interesting ways, as you'll see in a sec. Let me just sweep this down. So that's a nice clean, non-resonant sweep. If I bring the resonance up a bit, you'll see the gain drops quite a lot, so we can compensate that with the input gain. This is kind of classic ladder filter behaviour. I'll just sweep this down now with it flows both in centre position. You can see a nice little bit of resonance appearing on the trace. And if I push the resonance up, along with the gain, I'm just going to quickly patch in a slow LFO OpenCCV just so I can modulate it a bit and play with the resonance and gain while it's sweeping. Because they have quite a big effect with the resonance right up. If you push the gain up a bit further, it kind of has the effect of dampening the resonance a bit, which is quite nice. We're getting this quite... It's quite fizzy at the high end. If we bring the gain down a bit, bring the resonance down but keep the gain up, we're getting this nice kind of rounded sound. Remember, we're not going through the VCA at all yet, this is just the output of the filter. So let's go through the VCA as well, and if I bring up this gain, this is without the times 10 switch up, this is just the kind of cleaner version. Bring that gain down a bit. Adding a bit of extra saturation from this. In fact, if I push the resonance up to max and take the input gain right down, we're now self-oscillating. Just take that LFO effect off for a second. So this resonance kind of kicks into quite a clean sine wave around just past 3 o'clock, and then clips slightly past that. Of course, we can then drive it more with the VCA to square it off a bit more. So that's self-oscillation. If I just back that back off to just before, so just that goes away, bring the input back in. Let's push that LFO back in. So quite a nice range of characters. Now let's just put this times 10 switch in. And we're now into this much more squared off, aggressive kind of character. So yeah, that's the kind of basic flavour. One other quick thing to try is pinging it, because I know a lot of people are interested in how well filters like this ping. So let me just patch in a very short pulse from the DUSG, just off screen. So this is going to fire in some very short envelope basically, but it'll be that transient from the envelope that I'm going to patch in. And let's just take the filter output. And I'm going to take that LFO out and put a pitch sequence in. Got a little sequencer running off screen. And if I bring this resonance up, we're getting nice kind of filter pings. You can play with the input gain a bit here to change the character of it. And the trick is just to get that resonance just before it starts fully oscillating like that. In fact, let's take it through the VCA again, so we can add a bit more character. So that little bit of extra saturation with the VCA as well. And if I put the times 10 switch on, tune it down a bit. This takes it quite a way beyond the kind of traditional filter ping territory you might find in kind of cleaner filters. Again, if the resonance just kind of nudges into oscillation. So that's the basic features and a little taste of the sound. Let's get into some proper patches. So let's get started with a kind of acidic patch that will start off quite clean and gradually get a bit more distorted and aggressive as the patch goes on. I'm going to start with a little sequence. This is the Glasgow Synth Guild Octo, and just off screen on the left, which is sequencing the Gravidad oscillator. I'm just taking the saw wave out into the input of Furia, filters wide open, input gain to the filter stage is up about a third of the way, no resonance, and the amplitude is being controlled by an envelope, the pip slope envelope over here, which I can keep it reasonably short and snappy, but also with a little bit of body in the decay there. I'll bring the filter frequency down. Now at the moment that envelope will be normaled into the frequency CV for the filter as well, so I could use this little attenuverter at the top to add a bit of envelope modulation to that filter. But what I want to do in this patch is something a little bit different. I've got another envelope from the DUSG here, the surge, which is being triggered from the same set of pulses, but the way the DUSG works is when the full time's a bit longer, it won't re-trigger, so it effectively acts as a clock divider. And you can see, if you look at the red LED up there, it's kind of pulsing every maybe 5 steps or so. So let's take that output into the frequency input. And that gives us this kind of polymetric accenting, where it's accenting every odd number of steps, which gives us a little bit more character. If I bring the main frequency down and the CV up a bit, we get this nice kind of accenting. Let's bring up the resonance. Bring up the gain to kind of compensate the gain loss that resonance causes. That's sounding quite nice and acidy. Let's bring up a little bit of reverb and add a kick drum. With the resonance just kind of on the edge of self-oscillation, we get pretty nice kind of croaky acid tones. Now, as beautiful as this is, and it is a really nice tone, I want to play a little bit harder. I'm going to use this magic ×10 switch, which basically boosts the gain in the amp stage by 10 times, so we're going to get into this kind of distorted territory. So are you ready? Let's go. You can see in the scope the waves getting quite a lot more squared up. Now we're in some really nice kind of crunchy down again. It's a really kind of warm distortion, it's not too unpleasant. With all this gain on tap, we now don't really lose too much gain when the resonance goes up. It just changes the character a bit. So the normaling of the amplitude CV input to the frequency CV input means it's really easy to use Furia as a low-pass gate. Here's a little sequence from the discrete map. And sequencing Gravidad again, this time with the square wave going in. Got the input gain about a third of the way up, frequency about a third of the way up, no resonance. And this envelope from pip slope, nice snappy exponential decay. We get this nice bouncy, plucky LPG kind of sound. I'm just going to give it a smidge of reverb. We can add a bit of resonance to give it a slightly different character. But for a kind of classic low-pass gate sound, you maybe don't want too much resonance. A little bit of drive. I haven't got the extended gain switch on either. One other interesting thing we can do is mix in another signal at the amp input here. At the moment the VCF output is going straight into the VCA, but if we patch in another signal there, it'll just mix with the internal filtered signal. So I'm going to take one of the mass outputs from Gravidad, which is a kind of secondary output from here. I'm going to run that through blinds, and let's just patch that into this amp input and fade in a bit. So this kind of buzzy pulse character. If I turn down the actual square wave input, I can play with the mass control here to sub-oscillator territory, but let's get something that's kind of quite bright and contrasting. And I'm going to use an LFO from Quiver into blinds to kind of push this in as positive and negative alternately. If I bring in the square again and turn down that pulse a bit, we just get this extra little layer buzziness that kind of fades in and out. That's not processed by the filter, that's just coming straight in to the VCA. But it's kind of an interesting twist on the kind of classic LPG sort of sound. So next I want to explore using Furia as a really characterful preamp for external line level sources. I'm going to pipe the Digitac drum machine over here straight into the amp input, and I'm going to run it through the amp stage first as a sort of preamp, and then I'm going to self-patch it to run through the filter, and we'll explore some kind of distortion and filtering effects. Let's get the drums going, and if I bring up the amp gain, so we're just going straight to the amp in rather than the main input, it's going to bypass the filter for now. And I've got the extended gain switch engaged to give us maximum amount of gain. And by the time I get to about 12 o'clock here on the amp gain, I've got a nice hot signal which is quite nicely saturated. If I get much beyond about 2 o'clock, it's actually going to clip on the way into data. It's going to hit the rails of the Eurorack system pretty much. So I'm going to back it off to about 12 o'clock. And that's already pretty nice and characterful and warm. If you wanted it a bit cleaner, you could just back this off a little bit. This signal's actually incredibly hot by Eurorack standards already at this point. But let's keep it around there. And if we then want to filter it, we can self-patch. We can take that output into the main input of the module, and then we can listen instead to the VCF output, which ordinarily would come before the amplifier. And now it's running through the filter stage with its own input gain, which is currently about 9 o'clock. And you'll notice that even with the filter fully open, with the frequency fully clockwise, we've lost quite a lot of treble. And there's a lot of weird non-linearities with these multiple gain stages. And I've noticed if you just bring the resonance up a little bit, that high end kind of comes back. And we can start gain staging again with these two gain blocks. So now there's a bit of extra crunch before we've even actually low pass filtered at all, just by using these gain stages and a bit of resonance. If I then start kind of turn the frequency down, we can get this quite nice low pass filter effect. So I thought it might be quite nice to animate that filtering using an envelope follower. So let's patch an envelope follower using a copy of the amp output. I'm going to use this stackable here. So this is the preamp output on here, the pre-filter. That's going to go into the rectifier on Quiver from Wrong Electronics over here. And what that'll do is it will invert the negative portions and just give me a kind of positive only version of that audio signal from this rectifier output. And I'm going to run that into the DUSG from Surge over here as a kind of slew limiter mode. Very fast rise, slightly slower fall. And if I patch that output into another channel of data, you'll see this blue trace following the contours of that audio. By adjusting the kind of full time, you can adjust how quickly that will kind of respond. So let's take that envelope follower signal and go into the frequency CV input, which is this one, so the filter CV. Boost that and turn the main cutoff down a bit. We get the filter opening on the louder peaks, basically, of the sound, and closing in between. It's quite a nice effect. Now obviously this is quite extreme in relation to the original audio, so let's take a copy and use the other end of the stackable to get another kind of copy of the preamp signal, pre-filter, and go into another channel on the mixer. We'll get some kind of phasing going on here. Probably if I was doing this in the context of a mix, I'd probably take the kick drum out of the filtered version. Let's just play with these drums a little bit. Just by playing with these two different extreme gain stages, get some pretty cool effects going. And the envelope follower is a nice way to kind of animate that filtering in a kind of automatic way. Let's try adding a bit of reverb onto the filtered version. That resonance right back up again. It's a really nice way to kind of add a bit of creative spice to your drum beats. So I'm going to finish with a slightly more experimental patch that uses some audio rate modulation of the filter cutoff frequency. I've got a droning saw wave from Gravedad going into Furia, and if I get this envelope cycling, I've got the DUSG here, which is in cycle mode, just putting out a kind of decay envelope. And at the end of every envelope, it's firing a end trigger, which is hitting the sample and hold in quiver, which is sampling the noise source inside and taking a random voltage, which is then in turn modulating the full time of the envelope. So every time it fires an envelope, it picks a new value for the length of the next envelope. So we're getting this kind of random pattern of decay envelopes, some longer and some shorter. I've got the filter kind of just below halfway at the moment, and the resonance is right down, and there's no modulation as yet. But what I've got just off screen is a sine wave oscillator, which I'm just mixing through blinds. I've got that plus the sample and hold modulation, which is also modulating the envelope. Sample and hold I haven't turned up yet, but I've got this audio rate sine wave there. Now if I turn up the resonance pretty high, and then start to bring in this audio rate modulation, we get this nice throaty, formanty kind of sound. If we play with the cutoff, these nice vocally sort of tones. If I mix in a bit of the sample and hold, CV, get some lovely let's just give this a bit of reverb as well. A huge reverb makes this sound really atmospheric. Now this kind of works because the resonance is just below self-oscillation, and the audio rate sine wave that's modulating that filter is at a kind of sympathetic frequency to the oscillator. You can play with the octaves there. Drive it a bit more as well. get some really, really interesting sounds when we push that resonance all the way up. It's quite loud. I'm just going to turn it down slightly on the mixer at the same time. So let's max the resonance. We can actually take the input all the way out. Let's maybe speed this up a little bit. These quite cool metallic percussion-y kind of effects. Let's just bring the resonance back down again. So with this kind of extreme modulation, you can make this quite a nice creative sound design kind of tool. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you liked some of the sounds I'm conjuring from this thing. Like I say, Furia is a really great sounding filter in VCA. It's a real flavour. Always sounds musical no matter how hard you drive it. So yeah, I'll be back soon with more. If you've liked the video, please leave a like and a comment. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.